Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a Mission Impossible tier list ranking of all of the movies, 1 through 8. We watched all of them, unfortunately. I'm here joined by Eduardo.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, we have for you this amazing ranking of everything that we've seen so far. So first, we're going to start with the first movie released in when?
So the first movie was released in 1996, and for those of you who don't know, the idea behind Mission Impossible is based on the 1960s TV show, and I feel like this one's the movie that closely resembles it the most.
So we got everything, but the CIA break-in in Langley. We've got the crazy stuff with John Voight and all the mind-bending intricacies of the plot. I think that's where this movie really excels. It's got the intricate amount of the plot that a lot of the other movies share. Some of them don't really share. But because the plot is so intricate,
it's kind of hard to follow, especially if you're not familiar and it's your first time watching it. But that's one of the things that makes the movie really shine.
And also, Tom Cruise, he's just a little schoolboy in this. In this movie,
he doesn't have as much of like a baby face as like the first Top Gun or A Few Good Men or something like that. But
and I wouldn't say it's like draw crazy like stunts and stuff like this, but it's more like an intellectual movie.
That's true.
And I feel like that's where the basis of the story begins, and you get all the bases, you get the mass, it introduces you to the whole world of Mission Impossible.
It doesn't feel dated. Yeah, I mean, it maybe a little bit. I think it's really nice. I think it's really cool how Brian De Palma, they brought him on to direct this. Is for those of you who don't know, he's the same guy who directed Scarface, and I think he has a really interesting, unique take on Mission Impossible, and it's really cool trying to follow him, trying to figure out who's behind this whole terrible situation that he's in, and you just really get to see what a genius that Ethan Hunt is, and you don't always see that in like all the movies, but this one is where that really shines.
All right, so we're putting this one in S tier, of course, best of the best. All right.
I agree. Star.
Mission Impossible 2. We all know this is coming. Ethan Hunt, he tries to be daring, tries to be like a bad boy, a little James Bond little boy. Seducing women.
As you can see, just from the poster, this movie has a completely different tone, kind of vibe from the first movie. It almost seems like going from one into this one. It's like Ethan Hunt doesn't even seem like the same character. Like the movie's just very, So this is directed
very campy.
This is directed by John Woo, who is known for doing like a lot of really like crazy action scenes and like foreign films and stuff. So I guess early on in the series, Tom Cruise wanted some variety in the first couple of movies by making having choosing different people to direct each movie, and this one is the one that I feel like most people would agree is you could call the black sheep of the series, like the one that is the most different, but also not so much in the best way. A lot of slow motion fight scenes, a lot of scenes with like he's like hanging off the side of motorcycles, but to the point where like it doesn't seem realistic. He's got like his hair blowing in the wind, like jumping through explosions.
Also there's like so many unnecessary slow motion things in this movie. There's some of the other the doves, but there's like some other movies utilize slow motion, I feel like, in a better way. But this one is just like for like no effect, basically. And just to make it seem like quote cool.
I do. The one thing I do think is I do think the knife stunt was pretty impressive. Like the fact that he really like held a knife in front of his eye like that in real life is that's just the beginning of Tom Cruise like doing his like crazy stunts that we see a lot more of in the series. Also,
I guess the ending is kind of cool, but it just plays off like a Bond movie, and also
like a very cheesy Bond movie.
The villain is like so stupid.
Yeah, and it's also crazy to think about how Dougray Scott, the guy who plays the villain in this movie, he almost became Wolverine if it wasn't for this one.
Because I thought he was so cool to be Mission Impossible 2, and then this script he was given was just awful, where he's like talking about like some, I don't know, bigoted stuff. I would say
he was just like
script.
The thing with him like staring at Fanny Newton when they're in the bedroom, but like it's
trying
to seem so serious, but he just seems kind of creepy. And it's like, where's the, there's no dynamic there like at all.
Okay.
But it's, if I would say if you're the kind of person who could just turn your brain off and just enjoy mindless action, you might enjoy it. But in terms as for a movie objectively, we're gonna be honest about where we're gonna put this.
Yeah, bad.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 3 released in
2006.
2006. Right off the tongue, guys. Anyways, here
directed
Ethan Hunt.
directed by J.J. Abrams.
Here we have to fight. What's his name?
Oh yeah, so
Davian?
in this movie, Ethan Hunt goes against an arms dealer called Owen Davian, directed by the late Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Directed by? You mean played by?
Played by. I'm sorry.
Wow. Okay, yeah. But anyways, he does a really good job acting like a psychopath.
Yeah,
he basically
best villain of the franchise.
it takes a more personal look at Ethan Hunt's life because his wife is involved. Portrayed by Michelle Monaghan or something.
Michelle Monaghan.
Monaghan, sorry. And basically, he jumps off a building again. He does just usual Ethan Hunt stuff. But I feel like the urgency of this film, the suspense is really like on par because like he's sort of racing to get back what he thinks he knows he's gonna get, which has to do with this rabbit's foot item, but it really has to do with his wife and getting back his wife. And I won't go too much into the plot there. But it's pretty straightforward, I would say. Like compared to like the first film, it's like not as complex, but it still hits.
Well, I also really like how dark they went with this movie, or just especially, for example, the opening scene. I'm not gonna give too much away, but it starts with an interrogation scene, and like the whole scene is just like so tense, and then that kind of sets up the last half hour of the movie or so, where it's just nonstop action, but in a good way, and I think out of the first couple movies, this one has the most emotion in it, and that's where it really shines, showing like the personal side of Ethan Hunt. And
also, I feel like the score in here is like arguably the best out of all the Mission Impossible because it's like I feel like close enough to the original, but it's also like got like that Michael Giacchino score like style in it, and I really enjoy it. It's, I mean, the other movies have like spins on the theme, like for example, the second one has this kind of like retro, but the second one is like. Third one, I mean, sorry.
I also think there are people who have said that this movie saved the franchise because if J.J. Abrams didn't make this movie the way it was and it was successful, then it wouldn't have set the baseline for what the next couple movies would be like. It would have ended up like Mission Impossible 2 would have just turned it into like a bad, campy like action series, and then it could have gone down the drain. But luckily, this movie pushed it in the right direction.
Yes, this is good. Good tier, or that would be C tier, but like, or B tier, but whatever.
Yeah.
This one doesn't have number letters on it.
Go watch it.
Yeah. Mission Impossible 4: Ghost Protocol. This movie involves the famous Burj Khalifa scene where he jumps and climbs off the tallest building in the world.
Awesome.
And he's also got the main team of Simon Pegg.
Jeremy Renner,
and
then the other girl. She's only in this movie. They forget the actress's name.
I don't know her
No,
name.
but so this movie has the highest stakes out of all the movies that came before it. I'm not going to go too much into the plot, but basically, there's been an attack on Russia, and then they think that Ethan and his team are behind it. So they're entirely shut down. They're in a foreign country with no backup support at all. While there's a Russian terrorist that runs off with nuclear launch codes, and there's a nuclear war about to break out between the U.S. and Russia. I really love how like that, just the urgency of the story just keeps you at the edge of your seat, and like almost everything goes wrong for like every single character in every situation. But that's one of the things that keeps you on edge the entire time, and especially in the whole Dubai sequence, which was incredible. I thought this movie was awesome.
I mean, they literally have no outside help, and it's all down to them, which really increases the stakes. And I like doing that. I like that we get to see finally Benji, the use of Simon Pegg, being like kind of like dorky, maybe not the best field agent, but he's kind of there for comedic relief, but not really. And then Jeremy Renner, he's doing good. Yeah, overall, this movie I would say is great. The stunts are great. What other stunts were there besides the Ghost Protocol? Besides running, wasn't there more?
He drives a car off of a cliff just for the hope that like the airbag will stop, and then the airbag will come out and he'll survive from that.
Oh, what? Oh, I wasn't listening. Sorry. Anyways,
you're not listening to me?
No.
Pay attention.
I feel like a lot of people who are just rookie fans this year has put this as their favorite.
This used to be my favorite until like some of the recent ones came out. But I liked this one for a long time.
Yeah, this is a solid movie. If you haven't-
Still up there for me. Go watch it.
I feel like the plot isn't as intricate as some of the other movies, but it's very suspenseful.
It's probably the most fun especially out of the earlier movies.
Yeah, it's great. Mission Impossible 5, Rogue Nation. Rogue Nation. We begin the Solomon Lane arc, our Solomon Lane storyline. Where basically this crazy guy fighting in the Syndicate, which is this underground rogue network. His name's Solomon Lane, and he's linked. We introduced some new characters here. We got
Alec Baldwin as Hunley.
We got Ilsa.
Ilsa Faust. Yeah.
Ilsa Faust is Rebecca Ferguson. We got Vanessa Kirby, the White Widow.
No, she wasn't in this one.
She was.
No, she was in the next movie.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Anyways, basically, I like how Ilsa Faust's character is like you don't know whether to trust her or not because she technically is a spy too, but she's just doing what what is best for her in her position, and Ethan Hunt understands that. But she's still kind of like a bad egg at first, but then she kind of grows on you.
I really like how this movie, well, first of all, the plot seems fresh, you know, like, Ethan's going up against a rogue organization, like, it just seems like a breath of fresh air in terms of where the story's going, and then you're also, I really like how they upped the ante with the stunts in this one. I mean, Tom Cruise, you really gotta give all the credit for him, like especially with.
He holds his breath for 5 minutes. He holds onto the side of a moving plane as it lifts off. He
jumps off a building in London, or what was it?
I don't know.
Yeah. So there's a part with an opera scene, and then him and Rebecca Ferguson,
they mingle. I really like the villain too. The villain, his voice. I mean, we see even more of him in the 6th movie, but his
Sean
voice
Harris.
there, he talks like this. And you'll
Sean
end
Harris,
this
great
coming
actor,
soon.
yeah.
And I like also how this movie brings back the intricate plot that was in the first movie.
Mm-hmm. Really brings back showing you what a genius Ethan Hunt is and how he can really get out of like insane situations that most people wouldn't be able to think as quickly as him. Put it on par with Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, on par or like better or worse. I think it's
I think
better.
Yeah, I do think it's a little bit better. Because I think, like, the stakes are higher in Ghost Protocol, but Rogue Nation just has you on edge with, like, the plot and the intricacies. Kind of like similar to the first one. Also, the stunts, like, I mean, that's kind of what these movies have become known for. But yeah, I think I really like Rogue Nation. It's one of those movies that gets better the more you watch it. Also, the motorcycle scene, that was crazy. There's tons of points in these movies where you're like, this guy should have died, like, 5 times by now, but it just keeps going. Like
this mission just got that much more impossible.
Impossibler.
My favorite movie of this franchise and one of my favorite movies ever is Mission Impossible 6 Fallout. Basically, I think it's got the perfect mix of story, emotion, characters,
I think
intensity of plot, and like.
I think this movie basically has like everything that makes this franchise great is in this movie. This movie basically delivers everything that you could want from Mission Impossible.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, great villains too. Solomon Lane is back, but he's even more like.
I think his beard makes him look.
Yeah, he seems even more menacing at this point because he's been in prison for a few years and like he's a little crazy and then.
You think one of the acts of the movie is so good. And you're like, wow, this can't get any better. And then it moves into a whole other, like...
just keeps going and going.
Act of the movie in a different place. And you're like, this can't get crazier. And then it gets crazier. And you're like, wow. And it's probably a great action movie. I don't think you need to know that much about the prior movies to watch this movie. And that's what makes it, like, I feel like standalone. I mean, I would say watching the 5th one adds to it because you have the stuff about Solomon Lane. But in terms of actually knowing, like, anything beforehand, I don't think it's that big a deal. So it's very... user friendly, entertaining. It's got great.
Well acted.
I think the cast of characters as at its peak in this movie, with Ilsa Faust and Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames, Alec Baldwin, Henry Cavill, all these characters coming together. I feel like it just feels very organic the way they made the movie. Like they all had a really good time making it. I think it was just 2018, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like I don't know, like.
But let's talk about the stunts.
Yeah, he climbs a little rope on.
Yeah, he. Oh my god! Like the whole last half hour of the movie is like so intense. Like he's climbing on, he's climbing on the bottom of a rope that's hanging from a helicopter. He goes up to the helicopter. He climbs up to the helicopter, and then he's ramming the other helicopter with it. It was like insane. And then the final fight scene on the cliff, or even like the opening scene with the Halo skydive jump. Like seeing this movie in IMAX was awesome, and that also adds to what a great experience this one was.
I also think the pacing was really well. Like at no, even though it's like beginning the trend of being longer, and because I think all the movies up to this point were like around 2 hours. This one's slightly longer, like 2.5 hours. But the pacing didn't like feel that bad compared in the Reckoning movies, where I feel like the pacing could have been amended a little bit or like cut for shorter runtime. But I feel like the 2.5 hour runtime didn't feel that long in this movie. Like I felt like it felt like a breeze, and I feel like it excelled in that regard. And I don't think some of the other ones did. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
So would you say it's better than the first one?
Oh, for sure. This is definitely the best movie in the series, at least in my opinion. But
now we're going to talk about the Reckoning series, the Reckoning series, 7 and 8. These are the movies that came out in 2023, 2025.
Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
They were filmed over COVID, which I give them like proper immense to, because that's like really difficult to do with everything going on. There had to be a lot of planning involved to like get over the whole.
Also, I want to mention that I think it's a shame that this movie flopped at the box office, but for all the wrong reasons. Just because it happened, because it happened to come out on the same time as Oppenheimer and Barbie, which literally destroyed it. Maybe I think they should have waited like a few months.
Well, they didn't know that was gonna happen.
That's true, but yeah, this movie was great.
Anyways, I think this begins the trend of being a little bit more stunt heavy, because also I particularly agree with some of the character choices that they made in this movie, Dead Reckoning. I like the third act, but I feel like because the sixth movie was so well done, I feel like you couldn't beat it, and it just kind of like after you come after something so great, it's hard to match up to that level of.
This movie's still really good, but I don't think it quite reaches the level of 6. But it is, on the other hand, it is cool seeing like some of the same characters reappear and seeing another intricate plot again, seeing some new characters. One thing I'll say, I wasn't completely sold on the villain of this movie. Like Gabriel.
Gabriel was not really intimidating. Both the Dead Reckoning movies.
I don't know if does this bug you that like they don't give him a last name. It's just Gabriel. Like I feel like they're talking like, are they talking about a kid? Like what? Like a dog? Like.
Yeah, and I feel like he's just not really menacing, and he's supposed to represent the entity, which is like a real world AI threat, which is supposed to be relevant to everything going on in the world now. But it just like, I don't know if it like fully gets to that level. I feel like it kind of like falls short a little bit. I mean, him jumping off the cliff with the motorcycle was really cool, but I feel like, I don't know. Hilliard was cool, but some of the character choices they made were a little bit questionable. And I won't really get into that too much, but I feel like the characters peaked in the Fallout, and then when they get to Dead Reckoning, it became a bit overinflated. And I think maybe the result of this was that they had the same director as the two movies before it. And I think maybe this was the time where they should have changed a director from Christopher McQuarrie to someone else.
Also, one more thing. I do like how this movie and the next movie they start having little callbacks to the earlier, especially like the first one. I like how they brought back Kittredge.
Yeah, Kittredge.
He was a big character in the first Mission Impossible, and I think it's cool to see how that movie and everything that's happened is still relevant in these later movies, and bringing him back was cool.
Yeah, definitely. I put this right behind the third movie.
I agree.
Alright, lastly, we're going to be talking about the new movie, Final Reckoning. Once again, some of the same things. The runtime was so bad. Like
I was okay with it. I didn't really. I mean,
that's because you're used to long movies.
That's
I think
true,
the pacing was bad.
But also, it could have been shorter. Like I think the submarine scene.
The submarine
that was
scene
that was
him
awesome.
Going underwater and trying to get in this little chip in this submarine that's like 500 meters underneath the Bering Sea was insane, as well as him jumping out of an aircraft carrier. Flying more planes. What else did he do again?
hanging on the side.
Oh yeah, the end of the movie was
hanging
insane.
on the side of an airplane.
The end of the movie felt a little too similar to the ending of the
Fallout.
6th movie, Fallout. I would argue this is more dangerous, but I just feel like it was kind of like the same plot, just like a little bit less exciting. And I also feel like the cast of characters is just like kind of like ragtag, and you don't really get time to care about a lot of the different characters. They're kind of just thrown in there, or just like pick up people as they go. Whereas I feel like in the prior movies, like they used to like be, I guess that's all they had, but they used to be like actual, like, I don't know.
Like they all had a purpose.
Yeah, they all had a purpose. I feel like not all the characters in the movie have a purpose. And Gabriel's not intimidating. The entity is supposed to be like a real AI threat, but like it becomes redundant and unexciting after a little while. And I feel like
I'd say you're still excited by all like the stunts and the crazy stuff that Tom Cruise.
yeah,
is
but
doing.
it can't just be purely going off of the stunts. And the movie needs to have substance too. And I feel like that substance is just like it just goes back to the nuclear thing. Like I feel like they're like, oh, we did nuclear like 2 or 3 times on these movies as a threat. So like, what could be worse than nuclear devices? Let's just turn it into AI.
Skynet.
And what does the AI want to do? Destroy everything with nuclear things. It's like we've seen this before. We've
First
seen this
scene in
before. I
Terminator.
feel like I've seen this movie somewhere else.
Also,
It doesn't feel like a Mission Impossible movie. I think Jeremy Jahns is right. Not to copy him, but he was saying like
there was
it
also
sounds
a
more
lot
like
of flash.
more like Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Well, there was also a lot of flashbacks in the movie.
I don't know if I like that. I think partially sometimes you need to.
I think what they should have done is like the flashbacks in the beginning that was like a tribute. That was fine, but then everywhere else in the movie, maybe sprinkle it here and there. But they did. I think they did.
Yeah,
they
were flashback heavy. I didn't like that.
I think I did hear someone mention that there are a lot of people in the audience who may not have seen like some of the earlier movies in years because it was before their generation. So some of those callbacks they may not have picked up on, but they could have at least made it subtle, you know? Talk like maybe just leave it in the movie, but do without the flashback and like briefly explain
Honestly,
it.
I don't think all that was actually necessary.
Yeah.
Like to do with the rabbit's foot.
Or
that's not really a big spoiler. It's not really a big spoiler.
Or the guy who is related to Phelps.
Yeah, like did they need that?
Yeah,
I feel like it was cool, but did they need that? I don't know. I don't think they needed that.
Yeah, it was a little unnecessary, but overall, I still had a pretty good time with this movie.
It was very entertaining, but compared to the other ones, it
definitely not the best one, but it's still I would still recommend it to you.
I'm gonna put it behind Dead Reckoning.
Okay, I agree with that one. All right.
Okay, so that's our tier list.
There we have it.
If you disagree with us, you're wrong. Yeah.
Also,
comment below what tier list we should do next.
Also, gotta give all the credit to Tom Cruise for all the crazy stunts he's done on this and the Top Gun movies. And
he remains a strong advocate of independent filmmaking and filmmaking in general, and just doing
movie star.
The last big movie star. That's right. And that is
risking his life for our entertainment.
As Brad Pitt says, I'll do a movie with you when you stop hanging your ass out of planes, do something on the ground. Yeah, it's quite what it was doing. I mean, the one thing I will say about Final Reckoning is that the poster looks cool. Mm-hmm. The poster is so cool. But besides that, okay, bye.
This mission just got a whole lot impossibler.